What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review what's possibly like the debut project by Wooh, a Brick Squad. Basically, this product is called Pressure, the mixtape, and it came out in the fall of 2009. So the thing about this particular product here is just the fact that Wooh was kind of a huge or a relatively large affiliate of Gucci Mane back in like the late 2000s and early 2010s as far as this first going to happen between basically folks like Frenchie, OJ the Juice Man, Waka Flocka Flame, Slim Duncan, some of these type of folks, Wooh, there definitely were like a catalog of folks that Gucci Mane found throughout late 2008 and 2009 that basically took like the mixtape scene by storm as far as those pitches going to happen with it. It's definitely some excellent type of appeal. A lot of these folks helped amalgamate and helm like the concept of drill type music that's been popping up. Like, I mean, that drill nowadays occasionally gets resuscitated with folks like Pooh Shiesty and then Central C and some of those type of folks, and Pop Smoke, some of those type of folks, but it's just kind of within the pitch that it just seems to typically have some snafus. A lot of these folks, like I've talked about, like folks like Pooh Shiesty, Pop Smoke, and Bobby Shmurda all had problems trying to do drills, so hopefully Central C can last longer, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying that the initial format of mixtape drill started like 2008, 2009, maybe a little bit of traces of 2007, but it's just kind of within the pitch. This is another stock highlight, and this is a classic out of the classic mixtape era from Datpiff as far as those first can happen. Now this one, not really as full-bound sure as to how much certifications it got on Datpiff. I would suspect probably at least over 25,000, something within that relative type pitch. It seemed like it was, I mean, Wooh was not in like as much humongous spotlight compared to folks like OJ the Juice Man and Waka Flocka, but he definitely had enough appeal that he was one of the front ones before more folks started cresting and manifesting later. So it's just kind of within the pitch. Banner type product. The special thing about another noteworthy thing about this product is just the fact that this actually came out in the 2000s, so this was like a good head. This project here, Pressure, the mixtape, was like a good heads up on what was getting ready to happen throughout the 2010s. So it's just a good primer and early bird for that particular sound. Waka Flocka's on here a number of times. There's some other folks. Gucci Mane pops up on here a couple of times. So some good type pitches. Just a typical kind of Brick Squad kind of affiliates. It's just a classic type one to kind of get here. Easy enough to kind of see. Now the thing about this particular product is I'm going to give this a classic score, but it's just within the aspect if you're not as super familiar, if you're looking for more commercial bound type ones, the aspect behind it, Wooh is a lot more grisly than some of these other type folks. Just within the, it's not to say full bound like there aren't commercial songs in here, but it's just more kind of within the sense of just more kind of growling, kind of just has more growling kind of mixtape drill type format, similar to how Waka Flocka was with Flockavelli, just without a song like No Hands or Grove Street Party, some of those type ones that just had a little bit more commercial type appeal about them. More songs kind of within the typical type fashion, songs like Love the Gun Sounds, and then songs like Hard in the Paint, some of those type ones just in early type format. Now this is before Flockavelli, so it's just within the pitch that some of these type ones, Waka Flocka had not really completely amalgamated that particular sound as full blown, but these were just some ones that were kind of putting together the pieces as far as doing it. This is another type one. It does have some relative commercialness on here, but just not as full bound. It's just more in like a sense of like some after work shift kind of numbers, just the concept of like that slag at like 4 o'clock p.m., just kind of the drear and fatigue of just cruise arounds of just got done with responsibilities. Also with like some concepts like some house party type appeal, similar to the songs like Grove Street Party and No Hands, some of those type ones. So it is basically like Red Cup type music, definitely a lot of good aspects just to be able to get some of that, just the appeal behind how some of these particular work is pretty high grade. It's just within the fashion that this is the fact that Wooh was not necessarily Waka Flocka slang compared to folks like Slim Duncan and Dirt Gang and some of those type of folks, other folks like Joe Moses and YG Hootie. It's actually the factoid that Wooh was actually more of like Gucci Mane slime more so. He was a little bit higher up. He was kind of like a good cut, and I think he is like Waka Flocka's cousin. They have the same last name, so it's within the pitch as far as saying just the aspect as far as supposing. It's just the concept that they were pretty much like, you know, we're kind of on the same front lines as far as those pitches. It wasn't as if that he was lower grade. It's just the concept that he just didn't get albums put out within those pitches. But he definitely had a lot of solitary mixtapes, just another mixtape prince, just like Waka Flocka and some of these type folks that I'd say. Good type of appeal. I just look after the concept about it is, I'm not really sure if there's a single off this product. The problem with it is just the concept that the information is not really as full blown kind of out just within that concept behind it. I think that there was at least a number. There probably was some degree of promotion, but I would almost say it might have been the first song you hear on this particular product, apart from like the Pressure mixtape freestyle, is the song Pressure with Gucci Mane. That might have been one that could have been Pressure, considering this product is called Pressure the mixtape. It might have actually been relatively the song Pressure with Gucci Mane that might have been considered like the buzz song off of this, which is a pretty nice one. But just to go ahead and say, out of 23 songs on this particular mixtape, there's actually 20, not counting the intro, outro, and one skit on here, I'd have to say. So the concept behind it, out of the 20 songs on this particular project, there are 3 songs that are to be found elsewhere in other projects. One of which is Shirt Off, which was a part of Gucci Mane's like bonus EP that he put out on top of the State vs. Radrick Davis, which I forget what that one's called. I think it's called Wasted, the prequel. I reviewed that back in 2023. So this is basically like Wooh Kid's verse on that Shirt Off song. That's one of the 3 songs that's a repeat. And then there's like the Pressure Mixtape Freestyle and then EA Sports Freestyle, which are both, one of which is to a Nelly song, which is like Heart of a Champion, and then and the other one is Pressure Mixtape, which is just a freestyle to like a Gucci Mane song, which I forget what it is, but it's one of those type ones. Those are good songs, just more in like a more typical kind of Lil Wayne type format, but it works for how that particular fair kind of goes. So out of the remaining basically 17 songs in here, I wound up recommending 14 and a half. So it's a good type pitch, basically almost 15 within the sense is the concept. One of Homicide is an almost song, but the only 2 songs I don't recommend in any fashion on this particular mixtape here would just be the song Rock Hop, and then the song Duct Tape. So talk about those. Basically, Duct Tape is just kind of a commercial type one. This was like a poor grab for trying to do like some more kind of pop rap type appeal, something that Future would have done with like the Pluto album from 2012, just kind of something that was trying to reach above ground, but just the attempts behind it were relatively poor within the aspect, just like the format of it. This is just one, probably feel like it just needed a little bit more interesting production or something that could have crossed over a little bit better. Probably would have went with like a lady song or something like that, but that just wasn't the one. Duct Tape. And then like Rock Hop, and then Rock Hop was just kind of a poor kind of rock rap type one, trying to do the same format as the song Totally, but just pulled it off a lot worse. So Totally is just a better variation, like some mixtape drill with like some rock rap in there as far as this pitch can go, but Rock Hop just didn't nail it as well. Just kind of unfortunate because it had Rock Hop has Waka Flocka on there and this cat named Hexo, but just didn't pull out the vibe. So I just look after it. Every other song I recommend on here. So yeah, this mixtape gets a 10 out of 10. Just pretty revolutionary type product considering the fact that the impact of this particular mixtape appeal is pretty high grade within the same format as like Waka Flocka's Flockavelli and his Salute Me or Shoot Me saga. Some of those have ones. Gucci Mane's late 2000s mixtapes like the movie and some of those type ones, and the Burr Print too. Some of those type pitches, and just the various other 1017 and Brick Squad type mixtape folks that kind of did that sort of thing. I'm going to get to some more of these folks like Frenchie and some of those type folks in particular. There's plenty of other ones. Definitely want to get to Wooh Kid, but the thing, like, to note about this particular product, when I reviewed, like, Waka Flocka Flames, Salute Me or Shoot Me 2.5 back in August of 2024, I kind of said that with that similar format. That particular mixtape definitely had some gems on there, but it's this kind of aspect, if you're not quite as amalgamated to, like, the standard mixtape drill and the classic Datpiff type sounds, like DJs going and bringing it back, you know, rewinding the verses, 30-40 seconds into the song, some of that type format. This used to being like the typical mixtape type fare. It has that same aspect where it just, this one is a commercial type product, but it's just typical mixtape type format, that it just has the withdrawal that is just, the learning curve may be somewhat there just in the aspect, because the learning curve may be somewhat there because it doesn't have terribly many above ground songs to kind of get to within that format. It just seemed like Wooh Kid was somewhat less likely to cross over to like mainstream kind of appeal like Gucci Mane and Waka Flocka, Slim Dunkin to like lesser extent some of those type folks, like Gucci Mane and Waka Flocka, Slim Dunkin to lesser extent some of those type folks. I think he probably would have eventually put out some degree of an album, but it's just kind of the concept. A lot of this is just more mixtape grime and mixtape sludge as far as those pitches. I'm not to say it's sludge in terms of like the quality. It's pretty high grade. Like me giving this a 10, but it's just kind of concept. The attempts at going above ground just kind of has the format that a lot of this is just drill and trap type music to the format of just having the grit behind it. So this is not very much like a clean cut and just more presentable type fashion. The public relations is not extremely high on here, but still excellent type fare. So just the mixtape highlight, mixtape prints like some of these other folks, like I said. But talk about every song on here. So some of the ones, there's definitely some nice ones on this project. Like Chop a Loose is a real highlighted one. It's like a breezy kind of night commerce to kind of get just a whistling kind of finish up. Chop a Loose is a quality one. It's like a breezy kind of night commerce to kind of get here, just a whistling kind of finish up late errands and typical kind of after hours gel to kind of get within these aspects. Pretty popping overall type song just within the pitch behind it. Just would have to say there are some ones on this particular project that just have a little bit of commerce in mind as far as just errands getting done. Some of those type fairs, and Chop Loose is definitely one of those type ones. Another one that's kind of like that is Money Stacks. Money Stacks is another one like that, and then Homicide is another one like that as well. So some of those type pitches, but just to say about Chop Loose, just some real good night breeze kind of have for some vehicle centric type stuff, just to be able to appreciate like the night wind and just just appreciate the night wind and the exhilaration of having tasks done or relatively almost done. Homicide is the almost song. So just talk about this one. This is like a leery and kind of ghostly late day commute to kind of get here in like a work. This is a workaday type song, like a hustler's makeshift kind of sense. That has a just typical push to kind of, it's just typical push to kind of have this typical push kind of have. But the thing about this particular production is just not quite as fierce as like the ones like Money Stacks and Chop Loose, some of those type ones. I mean, it's a good type one. I just feel like it's a little bit plotting within the sense behind it. I mean, it does have like that ghostly type of feel, like some songs on here, like I'd say like a little bit of Geek Show, a little bit of like Brick Squad Anthem, some of those type ones. It's kind of like, it's just a makeshift kind of haunted song, I'd have to say about this one. It's just interesting, kind of have like some ghostly type songs in a more workaday type format, almost blue collar, but just within a more kind of just within a more productive kind of workaday type sense. So it's just a good pitch behind that. Jeezy would kind of do this at times, but he was just a little bit more recreational with like the Recession. But this just some good type fare, kind of getting something that just feels leery, but also within the aspect of this something that's kind of workaday within the standard day push about it. But it mostly works, but I'm just kind of on the fence of when I hear this song, how oftenly I would listen to this one. But it is like some good commerce kind of get. Come Around is a quality one, as well as like a vanilla kind of rowdy mixtape hype to kind of get within those tones. This is like a good cousin of like MGK's Wild Boy from 2011, so this did that a couple years before MGK got to that particular song. This is like some good turn up to kind of get within that, and it's like a skeletal kind of promo single, I definitely say. So it's just a concept. There are some ones on here that have like some relative kind of promo type feels. I feel like Come Around's a nice one for that. Bring It Back's Come Around's like a real nice one. Bring It Back's like a pretty quality noisemaker, I'd have to say. There's some other ones on here like Brick Squad Anthem's pretty good one for that. Totally is definitely a good pick for like some immediacy. Retarded's a pretty nice one within some of those type of tones. There's just some good nice ones to kind of get within those aspects in terms of immediate factor. This is something that feels like definitely songs like Wild Boy, definitely songs that Waka Flocka would do, like Hard in the Paint, some of those type of ones just years before, just months before that particular kind of happened. It's being able to say, but yeah, I would definitely say one of the best songs on this mixtape is Bring It Back. It's like a skittery kind of night living, I would definitely say here, just excellent kind of social hotspot fun to kind of get within some of those type tones. It's like a definite 2000s mixtape drill hitter, I'd have to say, and a pretty beastly overall song. This one probably has some of the most immediate factor. This would be a good starting point, I'd have to say, within the aspect of just like the less familiar type tone just within it. But the thing about Wooh the Kid is just the fact that I don't know how many full-blown hits he has to his name. He was always kind of Gucci Mane slime, but apart from being on Gucci Mane projects, he never built up enough buzz to be able to get towards other folks, apart from maybe I would say Gucci Mane, Slim Duncan, and Waka Flocka. Apart from those particular type folks, or folks within the Gucci Mane fold, he was not too commonly around other places. So it's just within the pitch, just stacking up some of these hits. I feel like Bring It Back has some of the most vicious appeal, one of his best on here, and Come Around definitely is within that territory as well. Retarded is another one that's just like that. Some of those type ones. Geek Show's another highlight just within some of those type pitches. And speaking of Geek Shows, like a drooping kind of Hella Stone move around to kind of get here. Social kind of house party heat definitely, and it's like a typical kind of Flockavelli like saunter kind of get within some of those aspects. If you're just amidst like the good red cup type music, house party type fare, just within the conduct of standard fare, hard liquor all over the place, just music running, some of those type fashions, MTV, VH1 on some of those type fares, just some good conducts for that. It's a more traditional type sense. This is one of the trippiest songs on this project. For the most part, this is a lot more just gangster rap within a sense, more kind of Flockavelli and drill type mixtape type fare, more so than full blown kind of drug uses. It's not as full bound like a trippy type product in terms of like smoke type appeal, taking shots, some of those type tones. It's not as full bound, but at least Geek Show's one of the songs like that in terms of trippiness. I'd say Brick Squad Anthem's another one that's pretty similar, has some good type of feels. I mean, maybe there are more songs like that on here, but it just doesn't feel as designated compared to like Waka Flocka and Slim Duncan's kind of craziness. Just a little bit more rougher, just more edgy, I'd have to say. But Brick Squad Anthem's like a skittery kind of mild horrorcore. Brick Squad kind of nightmare to kind of get within those senses. Great October music, I would definitely feel like here, and it's just a pretty ghastly hit to kind of get for some of this. This is like the more typical kind of creepy kind of Gucci Mane type fare that folks would kind of do. This just feels like a good highlight to kind of get for some of that just haunting type sense. When you think of Gucci Mane, like when you think of like Waka Flocka's Flockavelli and typical kind of October kind of Gucci Mane projects, some of those type fares in particular, it's just the real horrific type one when the trees are scraggly and just October weather is kind of out and about. So some good type pitches. I don't know if I talked about totally, but this is a real good highlight on here. This is another immediate one to go for in terms of like the most one that you should probably make a beeline for. It's like similar to Fast Life Youngsters. If you don't know who they are, they're the ones that dropped the hit song Swag Surf way back in the day. This is like a rock rap and like a mixtape trap sense, I'd had to say here. Early drill contender, definitely I'd have to say about this one. Just a Friday heater kind of get. So this is one just a miss. Like once you get past songs like Chop a Loose, Money Stacks, and some of those type of ones, probably another one on here I'm forgetting about, like I'd say Homicide, some of those type of ones. This is one just the initial kind of conduct of just like definitely some house party or venue noise just within the pitch. And the thing about like I would say venues picking up like Wooh the Kid, it just seems less likely because he doesn't really have like the notability in terms of like something crossover full blown. I mean, there's definitely some songs on here that have that appeal, but the unfortunate thing is that this feels more in like hardcore type sense. I feel like he's kind of like tertiary or later secondary to kind of get within those aspects as far as what to go for in like mixtape type drill. I mean, obviously you've got folks like Yo Gotti, Gucci Mane, Waka Flocka, Slim Duncan, some of those type folks, Rick Ross, people like that, Meek Mill, but within the sense of just going to like the next door neighbor, or the neighbor of the next door neighbor is kind of within the pitch that eventually you do need to dig up Woo the Kid, and this is some good concepts. Definitely some songs like Totally, Bring It Back, Retarded, Come Around, some of those type ones would be some excellent type ones to go for immediately. But 9 a.m. is a nice one as well as like a work shift and kind of work a day wrapping up, just initial dap craze, kind of get here and powwow type fun to kind of have. Good aspect for about some of that, and this is like a good backyard party kind of heater kind of have within those tones. This is one of those ones that goes pretty well with Homicide, just a little bit more recreational in mind. I'd have to say just the concept of just like that dredge and like that evening slag like I was talking about, just the concept of getting towards it, feeling your hair in the wind, is kind of the concept of stepping up, hitting up, getting dap from your homies, just the initial kind of socialize and this fraternize type of appeal within it. Just the concept of like tonight's getting ready to be litty as hell as far as those pitches gonna have with the good type tones, get the initial backwoods kind of lit up, some pitches like that. I'd say goes pretty well with like Totally, some of those type ones, but just a little bit more kind of just melded compared this more entry early type stuff compared to some of the more hot ticket type ones. It's not like I feel like the buzz on here is relatively hot, but I realize there are crazier products, but it's still, this is ferocious, but it just does it in terms like the relative just quantity of them more so than like the viciousness. But a lot of these are pretty damn good. It's within the PL. So Retarded is a highlight. So the song Retarded is a highlighted one as well as like a buzz building kind of early bird mixtape drill roundup to kind of get within those tones. It's some good venue commotion. I would definitely feel like here. Just good song to get hype, toke, and snack as far as those pitches can have. And just good type commotion goes great with Come Around. Some of these type ones, Totally. Some of these type pitches, just a good aspect of this. But Retarded is definitely one that could probably be more venue bound. Doesn't just have to be backyard or near a neighborhood type fair, just within the pitches behind it. Some good type tones for that. Retarded is just a little bit more of a fiercer type song. It's definitely one to get some exhilaration going as far as those fairs can happen. Definitely one of the ones that has the most aspect to like the ferocity on here. It's definitely a real highlighted one to kind of get immediate type one. Definitely. OD is a quality one as well as like a woozy kind of out on the evening town kind of saunter, kind of get within some of those type pitches. Just some grand house party fun. I would definitely feel like here. Red Cup music definitely, and a good ground noise kind of get within those aspects. So it's just kind of one very similar to stuff Waka Flock would do. Just if you like songs like Grove Street Party and some of those type ones, Smoke Drank, some of those type hits off of like Flocka Valley, definitely pitches like that. No Hands, just without the commercial hook. And yeah, it's definitely the concept. Just ground noise. What I mean by that is just basically neighborhood type stuff just within the pitch. Just typical kind of Jack Daniels, Captain Morgan type fare, some of those type pitches just within it. Maybe Guitar Heroes on some of those type pitches, just extra aspects within a relative type sense. Relative type fare, Madden, Guitar Hero, some of those type pitches, Grand Theft Auto, some of those type pitches that just would kind of have the concept of just like workaday type pitches within the aspect. And obviously, just within the concept of just being like some hangout kind of smashes kind of get here, but just within the concept of more TGIF type fare, just pitches like that, just within a Hustler's Makeshift type format. So some good type fare for some of those type things. Good aspect there. Good type ravenousness kind of get within some of those. Say Money Stacks is a quality one just within those aspects, as well as like a Miss kind of the night makeshift, kind of a productive late hustle to kind of get within some of these type ones here. Just lace things up and like a typical kind of, definitely a good song to lace things up, and it's like a typical kind of cruise around fun to kind of get within some of that. So it's just the pitch. It's kind of the product of a song like Chop-A-Loose, but Money Stacks is like a similar song to like Chop-A-Loose, but just a little bit more Miss like the work shift. Just not quite as much almost done, but just within the pitch. And maybe you have like an hour or two left. Some of those type fares are just amidst like some of those type times of just being productive. Good type fare for some of that. Just more night activity. At least that's a lot of this project is pretty haunting, so it's just within the fair, just getting like this September, October kind of fair, just within a productive kind of night shift. I mean, not every song has that work a day, but it has enough of these to be able to just designate some ones are for like just more kind of productive in mind and more have like the house party type of feel. But it just works to have these extra type ones on here just for some productiveness if you do have more stuff to do in terms of not just having full blown just kind of get crunk. Just some extra type fares kind of get some stuff done. Please Wait is a quality one. It's like a vintage kind of mid-2000s strip club noise that I'd say half drill, half Jeezy. I would feel like within the format. It just kind of reminds me of like some of those brassy type ones that Jeezy and USDA would kind of do in 2006, 2007 with like a little bit of early bird kind of drill in there. It's definitely like a money get kind of wave maker, I'd have to say, and it's a pretty booming hit to overall kind of get here. It's just from the pitch. So it's just interesting considering that Gucci did not really fuck with like Jeezy's type sound. I don't know if this was just kind of like some sort of jab at Jeezy something like that. It just has similar type formats. There's not too many songs that sound like this on here, and it's not oftenly that there is any particular kind of similarity to Jeezy type stuff. Waka Flocka didn't really do like these brassy type ones, but it's just within the pitch having like a mild trace that within a relative type sense. But it feels like another mixtape drill type hitter to kind of get within that aspect, just a little bit more strip club type oriented with a little bit more buzz type noise. It's the same sort of tone as songs like Come Around and Totally, some of those type pitches I'd had to say, and other ones like Retarded, some of those type pitches, good type tone for that. Do you like all these early drill type heats on here? Get Some Business is a pretty bopping one. It's like an electro kind of venue bop to kind of get within those tones. It's a relative kind of haunting foray and some grand kind of autumn music and like a social step out kind of sense. So it's a good type pitch for that. Get Some Business just feels like a typical kind of ATL kind of electro bop to kind of get within those tones. It's pretty similar to like Future. Get Some Business just feels like a typical kind of electro hit to kind of get within those tones. This feels similar to like Future on like his Dirty Sprite and Pluto days as far as those pitch can happen. Just typical kind of Atlanta type fares, some good fares like that. Just kind of stock mixtape hit to kind of get within those aspects. And then Dead Guys is a pretty quality one as well. This is the good aspect for some of these. Nice buzz single to kind of get in mixtape drill. Trailblaze definitely about this particular song. Bass jumps on this particular song pretty damn well. A little bit more than other songs out this particular project, I'd say. Definitely a good, nice nightclub ticket to kind of get here, and some social ferocity about this one. So it's just good type tones. So songs like Dead Guys is just further highlighted drill as far as those pairs can have, and just within the tone behind it. Just once again, like songs like Come Around and Totally, some of those type pitches just within the aspect behind it, just with like some good bass on there as far as that would kind of go. As far as that would particularly kind of go. So it's a good type pitch for a lot of these. I think I did talk about Please Ways. I think I talked about every song in here just in the pitch of the ones I recommend. So it's just good aspect. Classic mixtape here, just being able to say, just part of the mixtape era of just like that particular highlighted golden era run between like 2008 to 2014. Some of those type fairs, just another stock highlight banner type mixtape within that fair. It seems lesser paid attention to, but it's just the aspect I would definitely dig up Wooh Kid for liking folks like. Definitely within the aspect of liking folks like Gucci Mane, Waka Flocka, Drill, and some of those type of folks that were doing that particular booming movement. So it's a good type of appeal. Further highlights within that sense, 10 out of 10. The social score I'll probably give like a 9. I'll give this particular mixtape like a 9.75. I would give it a 10 out of 10, but it just didn't feel like it had a single, and it just seems a little bit lesser known. I definitely feel like the quality is on here pretty supreme, but it's just the aspect of the relative learning curve of some of this. Just because the relative learning curve about this, just with the fact that Wooh Kid's a little bit more off to the wayside, doesn't have as much commercial. Wooh Kid's a little bit more off to the wayside, doesn't have as much commercial bound kind of offsets about him as far as those fairs would kind of happen. He definitely had some banner type stuff and capitalized on a pretty popular movement around that time. It's just within the tone as far as having like hits that could be notified. Like I tried to signify some of these. I feel like some of the most immediate ones on here, but with him not really typically being too much on Spotify and fairs like that, it's just kind of within the tone that he just is a little bit more of like an underground type dude that you have to have a little bit more depth of searching for, more so than the full bound variety behind it. But there's some ones like I've been saying, Come Around, Bring It Back, Retarded, Totally, some of these type of ones. I'd also say Dead Guys is a pretty nice one in terms of me to see. Some makeshift ones on here like 9 a.m., Money Stacks, Chop Loose, some of those type of ones in Homicide. So it's good type of appeals. It does have some makeshift on here for some of that conduct, whether in Hustlers makeshift or just the relative workaday type fare. If you do work at Target, places like that, just being able to get some stuff done just within those aspects. It has that relative type pitch. It's good product between about, I would say, 3:45, 4:45 p.m. to about 1 o'clock, just a.m. after hours pitches like that just in the fair. So it just nails those particular vibes. 9.75, just need a single, a little bit more commercial, just a little bit more commercial orientation. YG Hootie just nailed that better a little bit, and I'd say Slim Dunk and Dirt Gang nailed those particular vibes a little bit better. But Wooh Kid's not a slash, but just kind of constant, just the commercial vibe was just not on here as full blown. But in terms of the future, like Wooh Kid has not really been around since like the mid 2010s. Once that mixtape era kind of dried up, with the mixtapes kind of not being around as much, between Datpiff kind of slipping a little bit later on, his aspects is those sorts of things. Just the aspects his mixtape started to not be as happening as much, just within the conduct, and Gucci Mane kind of cut loose all his folks that he found on Brick Squad back in like the late 2000s. So that particular movement just kind of dissipated. Waka Flocka, Gucci Mane kind of had beef with folks like Waka Flocka, OJ the Juice Man, some of those type of folks. So it's just within the pitch. I mean, he did continue to put mixtapes out until at least 2015, so there's definitely plenty more of these to get to, and I definitely will have to get to some more of these. This is a classic here, just being able to say that. I do recommend this quite highly. I'd have to say just the impact of it. It's just banner mixtape for like a prime era of Datpiff and things like that.